to deal with dialysis with Maurice Carlisle, and myself. Got a little hung up there, but we're happy to be back together here again, and we have special guests today. We have Jeffrey Butler and his son Jerry Butler, and we're going to learn a little bit about Jeffrey's kidney history and what he's gone through. And full disclosure, Maurice was Jeffrey's technician a while back, so we'll get that story too. Take it away, Maurice.
Yeah, so yes, I had the fortune of taking care of Mr. Butler. We go way back on that. One of the things that happened is that we were treating Mr. Butler for his giving him his dialysis treatments at my previous center. And when he initially came in, he wasn't gaining any weight or anything. He wasn't gaining any fluid. And what I was seeing is that my coworkers were taking his fluids off of him too rapidly and too much. One of the things that he told me is that he would go home and he couldn't do anything. He couldn't cut the grass. He couldn't really get around. He'd be labored when he tried to get up and go places and stuff like that. And so it dawned on me. Yeah, it was even worse, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so we, me and him formed a plan. We decided that we wouldn't take a lot of fluid off of him, and we'd figure out a way to get his blood pressures up a little bit. What I was seeing is his blood pressure were under 100 when he would get ready to leave. So I knew that in order for him to feel better, his blood pressures had to be over 100 for just to start out. So what I would do is I'd go over and ask him, was he feeling well? Of course, he'd say no, and I'd say, well, we're going to turn down your goal, and we're going to make sure that you leave with a little bit of fluid on the day. And we did that on a Friday, and I can clearly remember when he came in on Monday, he was like, Mo, I don't know what you did, but I could cut the grass. I could get around.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's what we did at that point. We would do that every time. Even if I wasn't taking care of him, I'd sneak over.
Yes, he would. Yes.
And change some stuff. And finally he started feeling better. So tell me about after that. I remember we talked to the doctor, Mr. Butler, and we asked him to cut your time. So let's talk about that. What was his response to that?
Well, his first response was no. And then I kept insisting. I said, I don't feel that I need 4 hours chair time, and
well, yeah, your VA, his VA doctor even suggested that he go down in time or miss a day, but they didn't want him out of the chair either.
Right.
But I'm sorry, Dad.
The doctor was, kind of hard to deal with there and hard to get a hold of, especially, like when I first started dialysis, came out of the hospital with pneumonia, and I lost a lot of weight on account of that. And then I found out about the kidney problem. But anyway, I kept complaining to the doctor that, I am gaining body weight, but, I'm not retaining fluid, and of course, on the advice that you gave me too, Mo, was, to complain to him about it, and finally it did sink into him, and they started, raising my body weight or dry weight, when I came in. But
they only decreased it by a half hour. They still want you in the chair 3 hours or 3 days a week.
Yeah, that's true. He did decrease it by a half hour, which I thought was a battle won. But what I would like to talk about is Mo, and how I really feel that Mo saved my life, in that place. By people over dialyzed me. And also, if I can say this, I was lucky enough to have Mo in that place to give me a little education on the settings on that machine, and really not to really trust anyone, and have him set that machine face towards me so I can actually see what the dialysis is, which pissed a lot of people off.
Oh, yeah.
But like Mo says, it's your health he says, and you got to watch your own butt.
Right.
And, you know, I was just thankful to have Mo there to tell me this, which a lot of people, you know, did not know. And Mo, even after you left, I was trying to pass that knowledge on to other patients that was there. And I actually, they would separate me, you know, from this patient, you know, like I'd be beside them for a week or two, you know, and we would be talking about it, you know, and then this patient would start to question what's going on. Well, they would separate us. This one patient, we was together on one corner of the building, and finally they separated us. They put him in one corner and me in the other corner, clear on the other side of the building.
Wow.
But,
so, Mr. Butler,
yes.
So this kind of what you're saying kind of speaks to what we've been talking about for a long time, and what basically made Maurice start this whole process is the fact that patients aren't being educated properly, right? And it feels to me, from my perspective, that, you know, you talked about only being taken off for a half hour. It's like it's being hooked. It's literally sucking money out of people, right? Because it's time on the clock or what have you. But the important thing is that, you know, for my sister, for other people, is that patients are educated, and that the conversation between you and Maurice as a technician should be supported. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, it's not. And so what do you think could be done to kind of help patients and technicians kind of work more together? Because you're together most of the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying all techs. I mean, I don't think it's maybe not the tech's fault. I think it's more on the nurses that's actually running the place, or who the techs has got to answer to. I remember one time this nurse was telling the tech that my body needed taxed, you know, and I'm thinking, now what the hell does that mean? Excuse my language. And actually what that meant was to take the maximum amount of fluid off my body that they possibly could, you know, up until fainting, breaking out in a sweat, fainting in the chair, blood pressure crashing. And Mo has done this more than once for me. He has come over to see what the hell's going on in that chair with me. And he says, this man needs fluid.
I think the biggest thing, what I noticed, was that there is a lack of patient advocacy. They want to keep people, you know, more of a blind eye. They want them in the chair. You know, making people better does not, you know, it's just taking money out of their pocket. I mean, without all the conspiracy theories and things of that nature. But, you know, it's very, you know, it's not quite often that you have a healthcare practitioner that actually shares knowledge. You know, in dialysis, there again, you see so many people that are non-compliant with their diet and things of that. But, you know, like Dad was saying, I mean, he'd come in at like 63 kilos as dry weight, and Mud like be like, no way, man, like 80 over 40. He's like, no way you're leaving. It was, I mean, you know, as being family and things like that, you know, and I'm a nurse, and I was amazed because I really, you know, it was really pretty sad to see, you know, so many people in that state, but with no help. I mean, if people had a little bit more education, I mean, that's the key. Education is the key. I mean, I've been a nurse for 20 years and didn't know anything about dialysis. one quarter, that was it,
Right.
and it's like I didn't know. I've never dealt with anything like that. But he ended up making it. I mean, in reality, everything happens for a reason. I not only, I mean, was friendships forged, but I mean, education, advocacy. I mean, too bad I don't think I don't think they had much time for um really wanting to do any kind of patient education.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty sketchy. Not that it was a bad clinic. There were good people there.
Yeah, there was definitely good people there, but by far, I mean, Mo, I'm sorry, I gotta ring your bell. I gotta praise you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Because you were absolutely right. I mean, those people had me down where my wife would bring me home. Now, this is in the summertime. It's 85 degrees out, and I got the heater on the car coming home.
Wow.
And I get home, and I cannot get out of the car. My wife literally drags me in the house, puts me in bed, and I'm in a damn near an unconscious state till about 9 o'clock in the evening when I finally, start to move around and get up.
Well, they didn't even really instruct you how to eat. Mo was telling you, my word, like go home and eat a pickle. Like you need to boost blood volume.
Right.
Yeah.
Mo gave me that.
I mean,
that vase is, my God, man. He says, go home and eat a pickle. He says, that will help. He says, believe me. And it did. And I did do that. And another thing, if I can say this, Mo says, here's another little secret. He says, squeeze your butt cheeks.
Yes.
I mean, as funny as that sounds, but it worked.
It works. Yes. Yes. It works. It works.
And if I can't add this, Mo is absolutely right. I mean, and I did tell him, and I celebrated this crap when I came in, like the next day or whatever. I said, Mo, you did it. I said, I went home and there was a blizzard outside. Well, it was snowing like hell. And my mailbox is about an 8-mile round trip there to the mailbox and back into the house. And I mean, I felt like a kid, out there in the snow.
Wow.
And that's just the difference between, the techs,